I'm very honored to be the chair of the U.S. Western Sahara Foundation, which is a foundation that works in the United States to raise awareness of the issue of Western Sahara and to promote the freedom and self-determination for the Sahrawi people. No, actually, I'm very blessed. I have been to Algeria many times. The first time was in 1994 when I visited the refugee camps, and I'm very grateful and continue to be just really overwhelmed with the kindness and the hospitality of the people of Algeria that I've gotten to know over, well, I've been working on this issue since 1994, so for several decades. Yeah, I first went to Tindouf in 1994, and then I returned in 1998, and I actually brought my children. I haven't been there this year yet, not this year yet, but I went again in 1998 when my children were small. They were the first American children that had been to the camps, and now they're all grown up, but in 2015 I did the last time I visited the camps, but I do try to go there regularly. This is because it's an issue that's very much on my heart all the time. Well, I'm from a standpoint of the justness of this cause. It's very frustrating to see that the Sahrawi have had to continue to live in refugee camps because they have placed their faith in the United Nations to uphold their right to self-determination through the referendum. So it breaks my heart that they've had to continue to live as refugees and not be able to return to their homeland. But I think that despite the circumstances, that it's amazing what they have done in the refugee camps to thrive and to save their people. It's very inspiring to me that even though they've been living as refugees, they're the most educated people group in Africa because they've emphasized education and they've worked to keep their cause alive despite the harsh conditions. But again, so on the one hand, I'm very proud of what they've been able to do, but I think it's very sad and tragic that they've had to continue to live like that in these harsh conditions because of the failure of the United Nations to uphold the referendum. And the only reason why they've had to continue to be in refugee camps is because they laid down their weapons, the Polisario laid down their weapons because there was supposed to be a referendum, and that hasn't occurred yet. So I believe now that we've come to a point where we have seen the Moroccans break their word repeatedly, and they have shown no faith in what they in the referendum. They've obstructed it again and again. They've obstructed all the agreements. And my belief is that we've gotten to the point now where we really should be, as an international community, should be calling for Morocco to withdraw from Western Sahara. This is an illegal occupation. Every day that goes by, Morocco subjugates the people of occupied Western Sahara and forces the refugees to continue to live in the camps, and I believe it's really time for the international community to call for Morocco to withdraw from their illegal occupation. Right. I think that the situation in the United States is that the United States does not recognize the Sahrawi Republic, which I wish that they did, but they do not recognize Morocco's seizure of the land either. What the United States has done is relied on the process of the United Nations to have the referendum. And that's been the position of the United States. Unfortunately, I have to be honest that in the United States, the Moroccans spend millions of dollars to falsely create false reports and basically lies about this situation. And they also have bought a lot of politicians. They spent a lot of money. So that's why when in my remarks this morning, I made it very clear that the only people that support the Moroccan position either do not know the facts, they've listened to the propaganda Morocco pays for, or they are in the payroll of Morocco. They're getting money from Morocco. There is no way that anyone can look at this situation fairly and look at it and not see that this is an illegal occupation. And this is the only colony in Africa that has not gotten their freedom because they were invaded. And no one who has any belief in the rule of law and self-determination can do anything but favor the Western Sahara. And I just feel like having this problem to continue to languish is, at this point in history, when we have terrorism, when we've seen how Algeria has overcome tremendously the terrorist threat that they faced. They're the model, to me, in how you deal with the terrorists, and they overcame that. But what kind of signal do we send to the international community, and to what kind of signal do we send to those who live in the North Africa and the Middle East when we reward Morocco for occupation, aggression, human rights violations, jailing people, jailing the opposition, and the horrible things that Morocco has committed? What signal do we send to people that will reward that, but we will force the Sahrawis, who have relied on the rule of law, peaceful resistance, the justness of their cause? They've never resorted to terrorism. I'll point out that there were POWs from Morocco that were held for many years, that were treated well by the Sahrawi, even though they were in refugee camps, that they released all of them. But today we have Sahrawis that have disappeared into prisons, that are being tortured and brutalized only because they wanted to speak out for their freedom. So what message does it send when we allow these people that have just and righteousness on their cause to continue to not see self-determination? What kind of signal does that send? Especially in this time when the world is facing a terrorist threat. This is the kind of thing that when you see that you can't go through international law and rely on that to see your freedom, then what kind of signal does it send? So I think it's really important right now, historically, in this time, that we need to see resolution of this issue as soon as possible. Because once the Western Sahara has its freedom, we will see a republic, the Sahrawi Republic, that respects women, gives equal rights to men and women, that relies on democratic principles and the rule of law, and they can be a source and inspiration for people all over North Africa and the Middle East. So I think that we need to hasten that day, resolve this issue for the freedom of the people of Western Sahara.